Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at the table for Table Talks today. We are so thankful to be with you again. I'm great to put us some pale. Yes, we are glad. The celebration is on. We were just talking before we came on just how we conveniently have come on with our purple on today. So we're representing. We didn't plan this, you all. We just got on, and lo and behold, look, we came with our purple representing royalty. Representing royalty today. We are your host, April Starks. We have Martina Young and Bernice Michelle joining us. We're the host of Table Talk. And we're glad to be here in this month of September. Our topic for today, we're going to be talking about breaking cycles. And we want you all to join in the discussion with us. We want y'all to be interactive. Put your comments. We're going to ask some questions that will help you kind of dive into what are some cycles. You may want to think about it. What are some cycles that you find yourself in? This year, our theme and everything that we've done and when we've come to the table has been to present solutions. It's one thing to talk about the problem. It's another thing to come with solutions. And we want to talk about the problems. We got to bring it up. Yes, royalty. Thank you. We want to bring up the problems. We want to be able to identify certain things in our lives, in our communities, whatever we're encountering. But then what is the solution? Because you are a solution. We'll say that over and over again. You are a solution. So there's something in us. If it highlights to us, it's something in us that can present some form of solution to whatever it is we're going through. So we're going to dive in. We're going to let Bernice start us out because she looks ready.
Right. She looks like a Nubian queen over there.
She looks ready. Yes. Necklace and all. Adorned.
I mean,
okay. Well, thank you so much.
That's right. We want you to start out. Talk to us about cycles. When you think about even that topic, breaking cycles, how would you define a cycle? What comes to mind, even if you were just to see that topic that we're addressing today?
Just when I think about cycles, I immediately go to, the generational things, the curses and the blessings, and so when a cycle is something that is repeated over and over and over again. And so, we have those we pick up those things and not even knowing that we're picking it up, those things that rehearsed behaviors and attitudes and ways of going about life. And so when I think about a cycle, I just simply think about something that is repeated over and over, good or bad. It's repeated over and over.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. A good point. Martina, you have anything to add on the cycles, the thoughts of defining cycles?
When I think about cycles, I think about patterns, like unbroken patterns. And that cycles are like patterns of when something is initiated, the response that happens every time, like the water cycle. When you think about the water cycle, the water falls to the ground and then it evaporates and then there's condensation. It's like an unbroken pattern. When I think about cycles, I think about unbroken patterns where one action initiates another. And it's always that same response. So unchanged responses.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. My mind immediately, unfortunately, sometimes your thought process goes to what is like nearest or closest or dearest to you. But lately, just because I've been riding my bike, my mind went straight to my bike because there's some streets that I get on that I don't necessarily have to pedal. Just because the terrain of it is allowing it to just have its own way, its own momentum, its own movement, and you ride it. I'm on it and I'm not doing anything. I'm not pedaling. and it is going on its own. It's moving. I may have to steer it a little bit, but I'm riding that. So I just begin to think about how sometimes, even with cycles in our lives, we are going along in it, and we're not even necessarily pedaling. We're not like putting the effort to it to make it go, but we are, lo and behold, riding it. And it's like, what? I'm not even really doing anything, and here it goes. And so I'll just be transparent. That's how I felt like it was for me today. Immediately waking up and feeling like, why am I riding a wave of some mental thought process that I didn't even ask for? I was like, I just woke up. So I had to make a decision. Just like when I ride my natural bike. Am I going to press the brakes that are on my handles so that I can stop the movement of that? Or just continue to ride? So to your point, it's like those cycles that it just keeps going, keeps going. How do we break that? Let's move into some of that thought press. How do we break that when it comes? Mental cycles, financial cycles, relational cycles. Let's name some. We can go through them. Help us, y'all. Put it in the comment section. Y'all, we going through some right now. Let's be honest. Cycles.
The health cycle. Yeah. The health cycle. I think about, first you have to recognize and know that there actually is a cycle that needs to be broken. You have to be aware. So awareness is very key into breaking the cycle, or even recognizing that you're in a cycle, to have that awareness, you brought up the bicycle, and sometimes, you and I, we'll be on that wavelength. And I was thinking about a spoke of a wheel, you have the different spokes, the different little, I guess that's what they're called. And each one has its own support, and its purpose. And, we all in this cycle, we all have a part to play in healing it, and so no one will be like the total family, no one person carries the full weight. But it's every person or every spoke, that has its part. And so recognizing and being aware that there is even a cycle, or, to even be aware of, to be knowledgeable of. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Somebody mentioned spiritual cycles too. So that's another one. We'll probably come back around to that. So that's good. Share cycles. Let's hit on some of those. Martina, did you have a thought?
I was going to say, in connecting to what Bernice just said about that you have to recognize it. Sometimes that recognition comes when we're exposed to other things. Like exposure is really important, because some cycles you don't even recognize that it is a cycle.
Yeah.
Until you're exposed to something different. So exposure is really is essential in breaking cycles, because once I'm exposed to something else, and that means in any form, it may be that I encounter people where it's something different, environments where there's something different, read where there's something different, like exposure in some manner to say, wait a minute, especially if it's a negative cycle, to say, wait a minute, this isn't good. And even there have been times where sometimes you don't recognize that even something is a positive cycle until you're exposed to something else. So like exposure is so essential, and why it's important for us not to limit ourselves like in a box. You know what I'm saying? Like that exposure, seeing something different is what lets you know that, wait a minute, something about this is great, or something about this is not right. Because one of the things about cycles is many times it's so ingrained in us, it just seems like normal life.
Yeah, that's true. So when you said that, I think about like just doing something different. doing something different, making yourself do something different so that you're able to see and have that exposure to something else, because you never know. Either it will solidify that as a healthy cycle or something good, or it will help even recognize what was not good or unhealthy from the cycle. So both are needed and both are really, really good. Can we touch on like what are some healthy cycles? Because a lot of times people put the connotation of, if we're saying breaking cycles, it's everything negative, it's everything bad. But there are some healthy cycles that we want to maintain and to nurture and protect.
I would like to just touch on this. I've been healing from my mother and I, our relationship. And, when I was able to see her as a woman, I saw that the loving, kind person that I am was from her, and so, if we focus on the negative all the time, we'll never see the good. And so, my mother's a giver. She'll give the shirt off her back, or, and that's something that she has instilled just naturally, that I didn't even see that was a cycle, until you, like you said, Martina, get it outside and expand, and you're like, everyone's not like this. Okay. And so it must have been something good that was passed down. Everyone doesn't love automatically like this. Oh, okay. That's something good,
Yes, that's good. Miss Mary said that. That's good. Giving cycle.
Yeah. So that would be one for me that I have noticed, that giving, loving, caring, just, that's just something that in my family that's just been passed down, naturally, prayer, someone mentioned the spiritual cycle, that's just something that's automatically passed down, everybody doesn't pray like, oh, okay. That's something that, you just take for granted, that this is what everyone does, until you're outside of your norm, and you see that that's something that is not done. And so those are two that I can think of.
Yeah. That made me think about, I would say the same thing, even like I recognize that with my mother, putting aside, sometimes you do want to look at those other things, but like the giving, the loving part. And also I would consider the importance of education as a positive cycle. So like, my parents, especially my mother, was always ingrained that education was important, and putting a significance on education is a positive cycle. Even growing up, when she didn't have all the money, she would be putting them whatever together to go get those encyclopedias. You know what I mean? Like, those encyclopedias they had on sale at Wendy's.
Right. My mother still has hers.
And we got ours too. The Wagnalls.
And did you use them? You cracked the books open
in school, before the just Google it.
Right. Yeah, you use it. That was it.
That's true. Yeah, I think we had a set. Now that I think about it,
I think we had a set.
I think we had a set. That was nice, and we didn't hardly use them, but
and see, I like things like that. And even like she would buy us books. She bought us, like we had our own chalkboard, we had a desk and everything for us to do our homework at. And even though she did not have a lot of money, she always really pushed that education was important. And so growing up, then you begin to see, and even working in the school system now, where you see parents that don't push that same cycle. And it really wasn't until I got to college that I recognized that all of that stuff, like you sort of take it for granted, like, oh, everybody's that way. And actually, no, I can remember even back in high school, there was a young lady who was failing and her family didn't know she was failing. I was like, they don't know you failing. My mother and father looking for my report card every time it's coming out. And so education literally is a positive cycle that we, really need to pass on. And even the cycle of caring for your family. Everybody does not, care for their family the way that you would expect them to. And I'm grateful for that positive cycle,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is so good. We're talking about healthy cycles and unhealthy cycles. So we're reiterating some of those healthy cycles for those who have just tuned in. We want to celebrate those. But even on that point, Martina, when you were talking about education, so how when that becomes unhealthy, the lack thereof, when that becomes unhealthy as a cycle, like the lack of attention to education or the lack of emphasis on the importance of education, when that becomes a cycle for us, how do we work on breaking that? How do we work on highlighting, flipping it from being unhealthy to healthy?
It goes back to the recognizing, that something is not, that doesn't make sense. It's the exposure. And that's where you would hope that children would have exposure to something in school, or there would be a setting that would cause them to be exposed to say, hey, education is important. Even where it shows that even as members of a community, even if it isn't the parent that breaks the cycle, that we as members of a community can have influence on trying to break the cycle. To say, wait a minute, this is important. What can we do to cause our, young people to care about getting educated? And not only just young people, adults, because education doesn't stop once you hit 18.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lifelong process. It goes beyond, elementary, middle school, high school. It's not even necessarily college. Even, our whole dynamic has changed in what we feel like that looks like in the stairs that people should take. But it's a lifelong process. In certain professions, they have to do continuing education courses, and they do that to make them be held accountable to continue to sharpen themselves constantly. So it shouldn't even be to a designated to a profession. It should be each and every one of us going through the cycle of life, ever learning. What can we explore new? What can I gain that I didn't know previously, to make it a healthy cycle for us? That's a good time. Like sometimes even when we feel like stagnant or stuck, it's a good time to go learn something new. Go learn something new. That'll break the cycle. If you feeling dormant or feeling stagnant, then we'll go learn something new. So somebody may be watching is feeling that like there's something else I should be doing. They're feeling a longing, but not necessarily knowing which direction to go in. Start exploring so that you can break that cycle that you're feeling, and move into another level of education, something you haven't learned before. And then that'll evolve and spark into something else as well. Yeah. So that's good. Bernice, can you talk a little bit about, like, even you mentioned something about prayer, that being a healthy cycle, and it passes down, in some people's family, and it's a part of their life and the fabric of who they are. But what if somebody right now is just in a cycle where they can't get there? They can't move into that right now. How do they break that cycle to start moving into some spiritual things and implementing prayer? What would be some solutions or thoughts?
It's gonna be exposure. Getting around. If you have a calling or something that's telling you to get outside of the norm or do something different from everyone else in your family, and you have never experienced or know what prayer is, or that you did not come from a family that even practiced that, or even spoke about it, get around those people that that you see and connect and be mentored, and just learn, as the Spirit yourself, as the Spirit of God yourself, how do I pray? What do I say? Have that have that connection with yourself, because there is something within us that unctions us, and if we do not feed it, it will become depleted, and then that's when we start feeling bad. We start feeling those negative aspects of ourselves if we do not honor that prayer, that spiritual life that is calling us. And so if you're a person that doesn't know how to pray, or prayer wasn't something that was, because for me, I used to always, like my grandmother, I just remember her praying, and then I've seen my mother pray, and that is just something for me. It's normal. And I would always want to pray like my grandmother, and I was like, oh, I can't pray because it wasn't like my grandmother's prayer, and then I'm like,
oh Lord,
it'd be hours of prayer. It felt like hours.
You didn't get the right moan. You didn't get the rhythm to it.
I would think something's wrong. I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah, but then I was talking to my brother one time. My dad said, he was like, your grandmother was a prayer warrior, and it's still in you. It's that DNA is passed down to you. He said, so you pray, you have your own conversation, your own style of prayer. And so once he gave me that freed me up to be like, you know what, I have my own style of prayer. And so that for that person who doesn't even know, that doesn't even have a blueprint, you have your own style, that you have your own conversation, your own dialect that you can have, and you can have that conversation, and then you can teach that to your children. And then you can start up something new to where your children and your children's children will never even know that was something that the forefather, the ancestor, the people before them never even did. That you right now can be the forerunner and be the person that plants the seeds and forms a foundation of prayer for your family. And so it has to start with someone. And so you can be the one who is the person that's going to say, you know what, they didn't do it. It's not something normal in our family. But you know what? I'm going to start it right now. And it's going to start with at that small foundation. This is what I'm going to do right now, just right now. And be consistent with that. And then that's when it becomes a pattern, a healthy pattern. The consistency is important.
Consistency. Yes, that's key. That's what gets that momentum going. And then you can start moving and pedaling, like I was using the example about my bike. And then there may come seasons in life, once you have made it a consistent pattern of who you are, when you hit those hilly roads where you're not pedaling, it just keeps going. It's something you put in motion. It's natural. Yeah.
It's natural.
You don't have to put that effort and work into it as much in certain hills and valleys of life comes along. So I think it's really good that we're touching on that, because we had to break up, which thank you, Vernice, you did an excellent job of just even talking about how do we break that up. You just start. And it's a conversation piece. Somebody put this was good. Look, Granny's prayer was different. That's right. That's a good one, sister. Look, Granny's prayer is just different. Sorry. You can't be like Granny. So we need you to just go ahead and get your prayer pattern going.
But that's good though. Now my grandkids, my granddaughters, they can be like, they'll probably be looking like, I want Mimi's prayer. Like Mimi. And I'm like wanting to be like my grandmother.
A pattern.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Having somebody to look up to and at least having that example set before you, which is a good point. So I'm going to lend this one over here to Martina, because I want you to hit on kind of piggybacking from that, because that's a good foundation. So how do we then, once we just get it going as a cycle for us, we talk healthy, unhealthy cycles. Okay. We know prayer can be a healthy cycle for us, but if I found myself in a rut and I'm not doing it, And just as Vernice just articulately outlined for us, if I can get it going, how can then that healthy cycle of prayer help us break other cycles that
Well, because
may not be as healthy?
yeah, when you think about prayer, and we were talking earlier about one of the ways that we break cycles is through exposure. And prayer is a time that God will use to expose us to other things. And so, like, because prayer isn't just about me speaking to God, but when we take time in prayer to allow God to speak to us, then He will expose us and show us areas in our lives that are patterns and cycles. And sometimes it's being prayerful and He speaks to you at that time. Sometimes it's being prayerful and Him directing your path to places to expose you, to say, this is a pattern that you need to break. This is a habit that you need to break. And in that time of prayer is where we begin to hear and know God's voice, just like conversation with people. We know each other's voices from talking to each other. And so as I'm spending time in prayer with God, I learned the voice of God, and then I hear Him. I remember when God first started dealing with me about different cycles, and I can remember, good thing she ain't on social media, but I can remember as a child, my mother filling out forms for school and putting on there that she did not, that my father was not, they were divorced, but she would put on there like he was nowhere around so that we could get free lunch. So it was really like modifying the paperwork so that we could get free lunch. And so my mindset, because it was done every year, my mindset was that it's okay to change things to get what you need. And I remember that I was helping my sister, my younger sister, fill out her financial aid papers for college. And the Lord struck me right in the midst of it. And even filling out paperwork for myself, it was like, do you know that's cheating? It is. And so that's why I'm talking about prayer, because then I was able to recognize the voice of God saying, this is a pattern of cheating. You know what I mean? I like within that same time frame, I had bought an umbrella. You know, at one time, it used to be called Bacon's Dillard's. You could take anything back, even if you didn't. You know what I mean? Because they didn't. That was before they put that little yellow label. And I had bought a Totes umbrella at some other store, and it broke. And I said, take us back to Dillard's. They're not even gonna check. And the Lord said, that is cheating. That is stealing. That is falsifying. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like, as I learned the voice of God, He interrupted that cycle that I had begun to accept as this is okay. Because that's just the way, that's just the way that we survive. Okay. And so that was the survivor's pattern. So prayer is so essential, because that is a place of exposure. And not only exposure, in order to break cycles, it requires boldness, especially when there are patterns in your family that you're used to, or patterns in your friends, or patterns in everybody around you. You need boldness to say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be different. I don't have to be like everybody else. I don't have to do what everybody else did. I know this is what Mama and them done, but I don't have to do that. And so it takes boldness to be able to be a cycle breaker. And in prayer is where God will give us that boldness to say, it don't matter what everybody else did. I'm asking you to do something new. So literally, I would say, I mean, as you like, prayer is foundational in it, because that is the place where we're going to be exposed. It's going to be the place where we get the boldness. And literally, breaking cycles also requires us to seek. And so as I'm seeking God in prayer, He's going to tell me what I need to seek in order to change, because some breaking patterns require us to pursue knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I can get caught up in there.
No, that is so good. I'm just sitting here quiet because you just busted us all up and just all in people's business and stuff. And you done
Did
brought
anybody else mama do that?
yes, ma'am.
Father, I don't know where her father is, and he 10 blocks over.
We sit here like I'm sitting like ouch and ooch, and Martina just done brought the fire. We gonna break that cycle.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, but you know what? That's something that's good, Martina. That when we are wanting to break a cycle, we have to call it out.
Yeah,
we can't keep it hidden. You know, the only way to break a cycle is to expose that thing.
Yeah.
Say, you know what, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going through, and then that weakens the power of the spirit that flows through their family, through that person and all. And you know, I just want to, you know, bring it down to, you know, realistic, because, you know, Martina, you're in the school system, and you know, there are a lot of individuals who are going through, who are in families who have that crab in the bucket mentality and are not supportive. And you know, you have those intelligent children who are not that but because of the environment that they are grown in, that they are grown in, that they take on those things that are not really even them, you know, and it's a struggle throughout the life, because some of those things are just covered in them from childhood. They have no other choice but to go that route. They don't really want to go that route, but because of the situation or what the family that they are born into, that is what we're seeing a lot of today. Is those generational cycles going on, and people in situations that they don't even really want to be in.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, I'll be, you know, just very honest. I deal with
April,
with young people, honestly, teens that specifically say, I want out of my situation, because they want to change, but when they go home, they're not allowed to change. And or any change that they try to exhibit or even verbally express is shot down. It's demeaned. It just makes them feel like, what's the use? So they feel like prisoners, honestly, in their own home. So I do want to read something actually that I saw today on a dear friend's site, Breakthrough of Legacy Parenting, because I thought it was good. She just shared something today that I put in my story. It says, you want to break a generational curse, a generational cycle. That's what we're talking about, cycles. If you want to break it, give your kids the right to tell you when something you're doing is hurting them without being defensive and dismissive. I thought that was
that's major.
Good. Mm-hmm. You are blessed to be a blessing. Listen, parents, if we can take that to help break a cycle, to not be defensive, not be dismissive. If they come expressing something that is harming them, or they're coming to share, let them share, even dreams and visions. That's one reason that we're implementing, even this coming week, the Teen Harvest Business Showcase, because I have a desire, and I want to partner with people that have a desire to let these young people show your goodness early, expose it. Let's highlight them.
Yes.
Let's not have a competition, competitive spirit with them, like, they young. No, because maybe you didn't get to do it when you was 18. Let them do it at 18. Maybe we didn't have the support to push us at that age, but we're not going to send like, they need to get there just like me. They need to work. No.
Yeah.
When I say how integral it is right now in our society, that we have to launch these young people, or the future is in trouble. Let's break the cycle. need to be nurtured, and we have the things to give
Yeah.
and to sow into them. Come on here, women of intent.
That's right.
Sister to sister. Listen, we got things to sow into them so that they can be pushed now, because they have to. It's so important. We got to break those cycles of you can't get it till you 40.
Ugh.
You can't make it. No, get it right. You 14, let's go. We're going to help you structure it right. We're not just going to let them go. Let's balance what I'm saying. We're not just going to let them go and leave them hanging. We're going to show them how to implement it. We're going to empower their dreams and visions and promote them and give them positive language and wording that goes along with what they're striving to do, and not pull that down. That cycle of pulling it down. What'd you call it, Bernice? That's good. Crab. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I said.
And that's
You
real.
Crabs in the bucket.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's not pull them down like that. Let's break that cycle. So that's one cycle we do need to break in our society.
Yeah.
And can you imagine, like for me, since I work with elementary school kids, to have elementary age children to say to you, I remember one young man told me, he said, I'm going to be a gangster like my dad. My daddy wants me to be a gangster. He's a gangster, and and so I talk to children all the time and tell them, and that's why, to me, it's even to be placed where God will position you at. Because I will tell children every time God gives the opportunity and opens the door, that even if nobody else in your family is like you, that does not mean that you have to be the same way. And I told him, I said, I know that that's your father, but being a gangster will only lead you to one or two places. I said, you could end up in an early grave or behind bars. And I said, that's not the lifestyle that you want to choose. And so, like, I tell kids, you know, at the elementary age, I don't care if nobody else in your family never did this, that, or the other. It doesn't mean that you can't do that. And so I look at it as plants and seeds. And that's why it's so important that when we talk about breaking cycles, sometimes you have children and you have people living in cycles that they cannot break on their own.
Right.
And that's why it's so important for us to be planters of seeds, because even if I don't see you breaking out of it now, that seed is exposure to something more.
Yeah.
And so that seed on the inside of you will speak to you and say,
right,
wait a minute, there's something different than this. There's something more than that. And I know we said train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. A lot of times we look at that as only the parent training them.
Yeah.
But there are people, there are children who are being groomed by parents who are not going to train them. That doesn't mean, so that means that you have an opportunity to plant a seed. And sometimes we need to plant the seeds in adults. It can't be all dealing with children. It can't be all dealing with adults. We need like both parties, because some people are rearing their children based on what they know.
That's it.
They've never been exposed to healthy parenting. So they think cussing your kids out, calling them no good, you know, exposing them to drugs and alcohol at a young age, they think it's normal because everybody else in their family. And so I believe that in this time, God is raising people to be interrupters of patterns, that we will be cycle interrupters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, because it is hard, I know even just personally cycles that I see within. One of the things God revealed to me is that, like with my family, especially on my mother's side, coming from deep South in Alabama, that there were things that they had to do to survive. You know, like even I would be like, why is she so passive? But that was some of what she did to survive growing up in a racist place where the best way to get by somebody was to sort of just
come on
and let them by. So that was surviving technique. Even like the poverty mentality came out of survival.
Yeah.
And so breaking those patterns, I spent a lot of time talking about, I'm going to help her break it. And God said, I need you to make you work on you. You work on your part of it. And
Yeah.
so, and it is difficult because you're shaped in that. Your
Mhm.
mindset is like directed towards that pattern. And so in order to break it, a new mindset has to interrupt what I've been thinking before. And so anyway, y'all know I can just go
No,
on.
that's
But
not.
for real,
Listen,
you know, like
you said
literally,
cycle interrupters. Come on, that
really.
that is good. We
Yeah.
have to all grab a hold of that.
Yeah.
Cycle interrupters, and we have to make sure that we're still remaining diligent to plant those seeds, because a lot of times when we don't see it instantaneously, we get discouraged to stop. But we know when we plant a seed, sometimes it takes a while for that, like you said, later it'll come back around and they'll remember what you said or what you did to encourage them, to empower them, and they needed that. But if you didn't interrupt the pattern, the cycle, when they were in your midst or when you had the opportunity to, that's a seed missed right there that could later bring forth the manifestation that it was needed for. So just encouraging some people even tonight as we're watching to break cycles, be okay with continuing to plant seed. Even if you don't see the result today, the result may come later. Don't stop. It's just in the natural cycle of planting seed. I'm not going to go in my yard today and plant them cucumber seeds and have cucumbers tomorrow. It's going to take time, and then I will see the cucumbers come.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting on the full harvest from my peach tree that's in the back. So it takes time. So keep on planting those seeds. Be cycle interrupters. That was so good. Cycle interrupters.
Yeah, I like
we need
that.
more of that in our communities, in our societies.
That's a t-shirt, Martina.
Hey,
Cycle
let me put
interrupter. I like
cycle
that.
interrupter.
Yes, bring it on out. That's a good one. That is so good.
Yeah,
So,
I like what Miss Mary said. She said that she had to learn that it's okay to see things differently than her parents did.
Yes.
You know, different generations. We're growing up in different times.
yes.
So I'm going to see things different from where my parents, and as parents that crab in a bucket mentality, some parents, the natural progression is for the next generation to be better than the last. You know, that's the natural, you know, that's the way we should want it to be.
Yes.
And a lot of people are not like that.
That's how we should want it to
That's
be.
how you want it to be.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and so it's okay for us to say, you know what, I saw my mother struggling. I saw her going paycheck to paycheck. Let me do something different. Let me see what I can do to, you know, so that the next generation, I may not fix it, you know, but the seed has been planted, you know, and then it'll grow the little bud, a seedling or whatever, and then it's able to pass down to the next generation. And so I like that, Miss Mary, that, you know, it is okay for us to do things differently than our parents did.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And then to also on that point, have vision for the future. And I think that does come through prayer. Like we talked about, we hit that cycle of prayer, developing that for yourself, because when you can get a vision for the future, I am okay today, September the 20th of 2021 at what? 7:43. I'm making it as a declaration. I am okay that there are some things that I am not going to see.
Right.
And guess what? Ayana Michelle Starks is going to see them. She is going to manifest them. She is going to complete them. And I am going to help, but may not see the end of it.
That's right.
Somebody needs to get there.
Yeah.
And that will break a cycle for
That's
you.
it.
Glory, glory. That
That's
will break a cycle for you when you can see and have a vision for the future. Because in actuality, you are there because you saw it. Hey, you saw it. But you just might not get there with them. And when we do that, then that's when it's easy to share and to pour and to sow and to give and to push, because you see that vision of it actually coming to pass, but you're helping being an usher of that. You're being
Yeah.
a cycle interrupter because you know they're going to get there.
Yeah. 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 I would just like to mention one thing, as we are, urging people to, be okay with being the one, be okay with talking to someone, a therapist, because when you're going against the grain, ooh, you need support. You need support to go against the grain and to be the one to say, I'm doing this differently. And so I urge everyone, to seek counseling.
Yes.
Therapy.
Well, make sure you get a good fit. I'm going to iterate that.
Yeah.
Because every counselor is not, look, I'm in the profession and I tell everybody from the get-go in the consultation. All right. So I don't know what other people are telling people, but you have to make sure that it's a good fit for you.
Right.
So search that thing out so that you have someone that you can go to and really be nurtured. You should see the results of that. And that's okay. It's no slight against anyone. I hear people all the time, let's stop bashing counselors, right? It just wasn't a good fit for you. Don't go bash them to nobody else.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hit a nerve. Sorry.
Although my therapist, I became her therapist.
Let me pull it back in.
Yeah, find the right fit. Find the right fit. Yeah, that's definitely true. When I realized that I was counseling my therapist, I was like, what? No.
Wait a minute.
Did you say that I'm sending you an invoice?
Wait a minute, am I paying you or you paying me?
That's good.
Yeah, find the right fit, but reach out to someone,
Please do.
Have that support. Have support. Because if you're going through all of those emotional things you're going to battle within yourself. That battle within, am I doing the right thing? This is my comfort zone. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and you need that support in that time. It's needed. Yeah.
That goes along with the whole research thing, that some things will require you to dig in and pursue, whether it be a counselor, whether it be information, sometimes we just want things to fall in our laps, and it literally takes effort. One of the things I put down is like, it really takes determination. You know, it ain't, you're gonna have to plow up some things. Like, you talked about a seed. People that are planting something, you got to go dig up some ground. It ain't just like, oh, something's gonna grow. It takes some work.
Some work.
It does. It really does. I like that. That's a good point. So make sure we're finding someone that we can talk to. That's the solution. Most definitely. And then Martina, give me the title, because I was trying to type what Bernice said. It was really good. But what the point that you just made, I think was important as well to note.
Determination.
Yeah, we just.
I know.
We don't know what we said ourselves. It's in the stuff.
We gotta go back and watch it.
Right.
We gotta go back and watch it our own self.
We just flow with the Spirit, and just the Holy Spirit just, I don't even know what did I say?
What did I say? Look, you're getting downloads in the moment. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Lord. That is so true. I thought this was a good quote that I found. I wanted to share it today with everybody, because as I was thinking about it, it kind of helped me. But recurring cycles are manifestation of the law of resonant frequency. So basically it's saying that what you frequently repeat is what you're going to get. So you don't get what you want, but you get what resonates with you.
Yeah.
What resonates. So, that's what you said, Martina. Came back. Thank you. Research.
Oh, okay.
Research. It came back. Recall. So the researching, what is resonating. So we're being able to look into things so that it constantly is like a repeat. It resonates with us. It's just kind of like when we have songs that we just start learning them, and you just sang them. It's because it resonated with you.
Yeah.
And it sticks with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can hear a song that you ain't heard in 20 years, and don't, and you're like, wait a minute, it takes two. You know, I ain't heard that since the Red Barn.
Yeah, that is exactly true. So we want to make sure certain things are resonating with us.
Yes.
And it takes that time to research and that time to look into stuff, and really explore what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
So that it sticks with you. And I agree with Vernice, it gets to that point where even when you go on to talk to somebody, that helps you where it resonates with you, because you're not, when you go talk to somebody and it's a neutral party that's helping you kind of walk through what you haven't even walked through before, it helps you to kind of shields you from the other voices, because it's just natural.
Yeah.
What you doing? I don't understand. What you talking about? And that's, you know, and it's kind of like, I don't need that right now. I really don't need that right now.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm just trying to figure this out myself, you know?
Yeah. To be in that neutral zone. Yeah.
That's important. And that's the solution. That's the solution to breaking cycles. So we need that time. So definitely encouraging people to move into that area. Real quick before we wrap up, and y'all can start thinking about your leftover that you want to provide. I was typing while we was talking just to highlight some good points that we brought up. Just awareness, making sure we're having awareness that helps us break cycles for sure. So even if you've been listening today, you may start pointing out some things that hit home for you. Write those down, jot them down, expose them. Like Bernie said, if you just want to keep hiding them, it's not gonna work. So we want to make sure we expose them. And having the exposure also does help us. Going out and trying different things, being exposed to different things help us. I wanted to point this one out. This is one that I had. Make a choice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes,
that's good.
Just make a different choice. You just got to do it, even if it's not right. That's okay. You try something different.
Yeah,
you try something different. That is okay. That helps break up the monotony, break the cycle. Then you can evaluate and come back and say what worked, what didn't work, things like that are important. But we have to make a choice. So even if we don't make it, we are making one. Because you're making a choice to just stay in the cycle.
Yeah.
So we want something new. We want to be able to have the courage. I think one of y'all said this, the boldness. It takes boldness to break cycles. It takes boldness. So we're pushing you, just like we're pushing each other, to say, have the boldness to just break a cycle, try something new, go in a new direction, especially if it's going to be to your benefit and really help you in generations to come, which is so important. So important. Any final thoughts you all have? Any thoughts on any particular point of cycles, a particular cycle? Look, somebody brought up health cycles. Anybody want to touch on that?
Oh, yes. You know, that health cycle, you know, that those generational things that, you know, you say that diabetes runs in my family. Well, diabetes runs in my family, so I'm gonna get it. We put with our own words. You haven't even been diagnosed with diabetes, but because everybody in your family had diabetes, you accepting it. You know, well, this is how it is. I'm gonna, you know, we have to be mindful of our language. You know, that we don't call those things on us that are not even, that we could be the one to change it. You know, just because everyone else in your family had high blood pressure and diabetes, that we can be the one that, you know, starts to walk or change, takes the fat out of our diet, stops cooking with the pork, you know, stops putting the ham hock or the Joel bacon or whatever, you know, making those changes, because back then they had to eat that.
Yeah.
it was out of necessity. They had to. Today we don't have to. We don't have to eat and be that way.
That's right.
So we can be the ones that drinks more water. You know, just those simple things. Drink more water. You know, all the family gatherings don't have to be evolved around food. You know, those things. You know that I don't know what your family does, April. That you all do a whole family vacation, you know, aunts, uncles. I love that. I love that right there. And so, you know, that we can do, I know that's not health, but I wanted to say that.
No, that's a good one. No, and we do that every other year. When you said it, made me think about for the first year in 2022, in July, we're doing one with the cousins for the first time. So we're breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
And the reason we're doing that is because we always do it with everybody, cross-generational. Awesome. We love it. But it's some things that we saw as cousins that hold up. The buck stops here.
Yeah.
We getting together as cousins and we get ready to join forces in some things and build and forge some trails for our children.
Yeah.
But we're still gonna do the cross-generational one.
Right.
And we as cousins just felt unction like, okay, this is something we can do be cycle interrupters.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important. That's important. But that food part, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah.
Making some different choices. We're right now in my household are really going through a transition because I'm alleviating meat in a lot of my meals. And it is a war going on in the Starks house because they looking like, it's vegetable casserole. What in the world? Where the meat at? They are not feeling it. And so it's hard for me, and because it's like you don't want to cook two meals.
Right.
So we're in a transition at the moment. But there are ways to make better choices. Not that it's gonna be easy, but we need to start trying to walk that out.
Yeah. And being the person in your family to like, if everyone was adapted to conventional medicine, that you are the one that I want to look up some herbs and see what they're about. You know, let me just dabble and see what these herbs are going to do for my body.
That's right.
Know, that just being that person, you know, and then your family will see the change that's going on within you, and then you're able to help your family out, you know, and making better choices and putting more nurturing things in our bodies. And so, just try that's what something exposure. Try something different.
Think about how many families were like people still eating pig feet and chitlins, and you know there's a struggle with blood pressure and things like that. So like even just breaking that cycle, say, I don't want your hog mouse. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna be rude about it or anything, but like literally just you know, like literally just exploring different things. And even in that, it takes me a different, like, my mother does not believe in anything but fried fish. If it ain't fried, it ain't worth eating. And so though I'm like, you know, I started trying other things. I'm like, wait a minute, baked fish is good, broiled fish is good. You know what I mean? Like literally even just one of the things I was going to is dare to do something different.
Yeah.
Dare to be different. You don't have to, you know, and it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
Like we have this whole mode of I need to fit in. No, we were not made to fit in. We were made to stand out. And that fitting in is what sometimes causes us to be stuck in cycles. But anyway, time draws now.
I like that. Dare to be different. So important. We got to do it. And that's okay. So we're encouraging you today to break cycles. Y'all just hear that breaking sound? Y'all just hear that? She played it off. She played it off real good though, but that was the sound. That was the sound. That was the breaking.
I hear chains breaking. No, that ain't how the song goes, is it?
I don't know. We'll make it up.
Break every chain. That's it.
That's it.
Break every chain. Yes.
That's how. See, we speak it out. We have to speak
break
that thing out.
Chain. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
We might need to go ahead and we've been talking about what resonates. We might need to get us a little chorus going on so you can stick with us. Break every chain. Break every chain. Come on. Sing with us.
You don't want me to sing. Where's the harmonica?
I know. I need it on it. But ain't there a part in that song that says, I hear chains breaking.
I hear chains
I hear
breaking.
chains too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not mess up Tasha Cobb's song though. We love her. Break every chain. No, that's sticking with me though, for real.
Break every.
Ooh,
So that's good. Yeah. Break every chain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Break every chain.
Yes. We're speaking that over our lives and your lives.
Yes.
Break
Father
every
God.
chain.
Yeah.
Every
it's
cycle.
going to be fearful. That fear is going to come. But just remember that God did not give you the spirit of fear.
Yeah.
God gave you power, love, and a sound mind.
Yes.
So walk in what you were given and what has been planted within you. You have the power. Walk in love and keep your sound mind.
Yes.
That's my leftover.
That's a good leftover. Thank you. Martina, your leftover.
I'm going to connect my leftover box to Vernice's leftover box, because as going back to being cycle interrupters, that not only is it that we should be interrupting cycles for our own lives, but even for others, that it is going to require us to walk in love and to look at people beyond what we see in the natural.
Come on.
Sometimes we can look and see things in the natural and just be like, what's wrong with juicy fruit? And really, literally, it is that they're just walking out a pattern that they have been used to. And so it takes love to continue to plant seeds in people when what you see, you're like, it ain't helping. But literally, it's just that as a cycle interrupter, it's going to take us walking in love and patience. Now, I'm not talking about being an enabler, because that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. We're not going to enable people, but we are going to love and be obedient to the voice of God, to hear what God is saying. Because he'll tell you when to draw back. He'll tell you when, okay, you've given them the gasoline they need to go. Now it's their turn to put the pedal to the metal and move forward, And so it really is. It's so important for us to hear the voice of God in it. And even for breaking cycles ourselves, because I'm be honest, there's some, literally diligently fighting. And sometimes it can be discouraging when you're trying to break cycles. And so many families have a poverty cycle, and that is what I am warring against for my family, breaking that cycle of poverty, not only financially but mentally. And so one of the things in it, though, is to remember that sight might be what helps me to recognize that there's a cycle and a pattern, but I cannot let sight be what motivates me as I move forward. You see what I'm saying? Because sometimes I recognize the pattern, I'm working to break the pattern, and sometimes I don't see it breaking immediately. Yeah. And so just because I don't see it breaking immediately doesn't mean that I should stop. Right. I have to use sight to recognize there's an issue, but I'm not going to use sight to help me move forward. Right. I'm going to go to the insight that God's given me to say, it is working. Keep going. Keep pressing ahead. Don't fear even failure in this. Walk in the power and sound mind and love of God. So anyway, yes, thank you,
Come
Jesus.
on. That's so good. This is going to be a 3-compartment to-go box, because I'm going to put my to-go with y'all 2 to go and piggyback so we can put it in one. This is so good. I just want to just encourage all of us to love ourselves enough. Love ourselves enough to break the cycles. When we keep that at the forefront, it helps break the cycle for other people that we're going to encounter. Because sometimes what we do, we think of it like for them. Because that's just how we are. Yeah. We're just loving givers, and we're thinking, I'm gonna do this so I can bless them and be a blessing to them. But it's okay. And it took me a minute to kind of really let this marinate for myself. So I'm just not trying to tell you something I don't have to do for myself. It's okay to put yourself first.
It is okay.
It is okay.
It is okay.
It's okay. And say, listen, I'm doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And by me breaking the cycle for me, those who are riding with me gonna get the results of it. It's just that simple. So that is what's gonna help us operate in love without fear and still have our sound mind. Because
Yeah.
let me tell you, your mind will get messed up.
Ooh. That's a
Let's
whole
break.
show.
That's another show. We'll have to hit.
Oh.
That's another one. That's another one. Really.
Yeah.
Because your mind will get messed up.
Ooh.
Trying to break. Listen, we trying to break somebody else's cycle that don't know they have a cycle, that's in a cycle with a cycle, under a cycle. Break your own cycle.
Break your own cycle.
Break your own cycle, and then others will reap the benefits of it.
That's right.
That's all you can do. And that will keep you in sound mind. Perfect peace.
Yes.
And walking without fear. Because that's the more cycles we break, your confidence gets built up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have fear for the next one. Because you're like, oh, I just killed that other one.
Right.
It might have took me about a couple years, but I killed that one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It just builds your confidence
Right.
for the next one.
Yeah.
So let's just take it personal, and then the other people will reap
Yeah.
the benefits of it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when other people don't give us the response that we need from the cycle we're working so hard to break,
Yeah.
then you end up in another cycle.
Yeah.
Let me go. Let me get off of here because we
Yeah.
got another hour.
That people pleasing cycle. Go ahead and mention it.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't
concerned about other people's cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
you didn't open up a whole bucket of dynamite.
I know. That's a good one though. We should have
It
hit
really
that one
is
out.
a good one.
We might have to have a part 2.
Because especially as women, we have a nature, that nurturing nature
Yeah.
can have us, girl. Listen. I can flip this over.
Yeah.
Rescuing people.
It's innate.
Sometimes we rescue other people and drown ourselves.
Oh.
Anyway,
We gotta break that cycle. Break every chain. Break it. We're breaking it. We're breaking it. We're breaking it. We're loving ourselves.
Can I say this and then I'm done? I wish I had a stick to break, because even when you're talking about breaking it, like as far as that cycle of over nurturing. Okay,
yes.
now hold it in the air for me, Bernice. So listen, when you break it, that's where you can have balance. Here, it's got two sides. That means I can take care of me, and then I can be a blessing to other people too.
Come on.
When you break the cycle, it's about being balanced. God does want us to pour into other people, but not to the extent where then I'm somewhere on the road running out of gas.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for bringing the stick for me.
We come with illustrations at the tabletop.
Thank you. And then drop the mic.
We dropping sticks. No.
We're dropping sticks tonight because we are breaking every cycle. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We'll be here next month, so please join us again. We are cycle interrupters.
That's right.
And
Yes.
we bring solutions. We
That's
bring
right.
solutions. When things hit our table, we bring solutions because Bernice is a solution. Martina's a solution. I'm a solution. And guess what? You are a solution. Until
Yes.
next time, we'll appreciate y'all. Have a good night.